Yeah, g'day, how you going, all right? Well, I hope so. Today we're going to talk about 5 key steps to transition safely from full-time to freelance. Little known statistic first, 34% of Americans would rather jump out of a plane than start their own business. Presumably you with a parachute. It's scary starting a business, but it's not quite that bad. In 2020, they reckon, whoever they are, 43% of workers will be in the gig economy, which is both good and bad for you. Good in the sense that prospective employers are more used to hiring a freelancer these days than they used to be, and bad in that they still do it really badly because they're not used to it. Nor are they used to managing people who aren't in the office the whole time. Don't report to anybody in particular. Have phone calls with people outside the business, and the many other things that make a world of difference between an employee and a freelancer. And freelancers have, and I say this with caution, a sometimes deserved reputation of being unreliable, sloppy, hard to communicate with, and late with their work. At least that's what a lot of clients think. So on the one hand, you have managers who don't know how to deal with freelancers, and freelancers who don't know how to deal with having to manage themselves on everything because they are their own boss. Now you might wonder what this has got to do with making the jump. Well, actually everything, as you'll see in a minute. Sustaining a well-positioned freelance life can be just as stable as having a full-time job if you do it properly. The scariest part normally is taking the leap in the first place. So if you're preparing to go freelance this year, there are 5 steps you can take to properly equip yourself for making that change. And only one of them actually is financial. The others, as you're going to see, are both operational and what I call professional. Okay, so here's 5 key steps to safely transition from employment to freelance. Number 1, save up. Have an emergency fund that will ideally cover 3 to 6 months of your expenses. And if you're trying to figure out how much you spend each month, I'd recommend adding up only the really necessary expenses. So not the going out for dinners and all this sort of stuff, but really cutting it down to rent, mortgage, monthly payments for your utilities, student loans, car loans, and groceries, whatever it happens to be. In my opinion, your emergency fund should run on the higher end if you're a freelancer, because you know what, your job situation can be a little bit precarious sometimes, okay? Right now I earn more as a freelancer than if I had a full-time job, but my jobs could disappear much more easily than someone who plans to be at the same company for the next 5 years. So even now, after years of freelancing, I still have a full 6 months worth of expenses accounted for in my emergency fund and in an account that I can't get to easily. But I started off with about 3 months worth when I first went freelance, and I've just gradually built it up over time. Okay, key step number 2, put a side hustle in place before quitting your full-time job. Why? 1, building your freelance client list ain't going to happen overnight. Now, if your income is going to take a little bit of a hit when you do transition from full-time to freelance, which we can actually show you how to avoid, then finding a side hustle that'll allow you to supplement your income while you're building up your emergency fund is a really good idea. So start small with a few word-of-mouth clients. And this is good if you do things like web design or graphics design or social media management, digital stuff. It gives you a chance to find out A, whether you really like doing this, B, how to price your work, 3, whether or not you can meet deadlines, and 4, whether you can actually balance your priorities. And there are a couple of non-work things that you can do as well. A friend of mine, for example, put her apartment on Airbnb for the first 3 months of her freelance career, and she moved back home. That gave her enough to move from full-time into freelancing. Now, there are so many ways to earn extra cash that can fit comfortably into your schedule. So make sure you find one and get set up before you make this big change. And number 3, build your email list now. What? You've wasted time listening to this video instead of building your email list? It doesn't matter how good your products and services are. Nobody knows you exist. You're not going to sell squat. The common wisdom is that you should have 1,000 subscribers and fans before you go freelancing. And the best time to start building that list of people who like and trust you is yesterday, or even maybe last week sometime. I cannot emphasize this enough. I made the mistake of throwing all my energy and resources into building products when I started my first business, and then I had to close, honestly, because I hadn't spent the time getting the right customers. It was a bitter lesson which I'm passing on to you so you don't make the same mistake. Key step number 4, create a simple strategic plan for your business, one that'll keep you right on track when the way ahead seems to have so many options. Now we have a good plan, which you're very welcome to go on site and have a look at. The plan isn't actually about finding investors or creating world domination or SWOT analysis or all that other stuff. It just has 4 simple sections. Marketing strategy, which is what you're going to sell and who you're going to sell it to. Tactics, which is the various ways that you will use to get in front of your ideal clients. A schedule, which is what you're going to do in actual practice and when. And then lastly, your revenue model. What price you're going to charge for your services and your products, how you're going to package that up, by which I mean you're going to use an hourly rate, a retainer or a lump sum or whatever. And this section also includes your budget calculations and all the other financial information that you need to make sure you're going to be profitable. And step number 5 is to create a professional image and then live up to it. And that's why I mentioned that right at the start. Here's a couple of little sayings that you should tattoo on the insides of your eyelids. The first one is Die Photos, which stands for delivered in full, on time, in spec. This needs to be your mantra. If you have to move heaven and earth to do this every time, and you do it, you will join the top 1% of freelancers globally, and you'll be able to charge accordingly. Imagine being able to say, Miss Client, the reason I might appear more expensive at first glance than the other banjo players down the street is that I deliver 100% of what we agreed on time and according to the specs you gave me. And I do it with every client on every job. Them other banjo players don't. Imagine the power of that factual statement. And the second thing is never assume. Put it on the other eyelid. Always go back to the client. Not only if you're in doubt about something, but also to confirm something that you know perfectly well, that you also know that the client is really hanging out for. That confirmation call is worth gold. Never assume that you know what the client was thinking when they said X, and never assume that they're totally cool about not hearing from you until the work has been done. Wow, you know, you do these things, you cannot fail. Do these 5 things well, starting today or preferably last week when it comes to building your email list, and you will have no trouble transitioning from employment to the world of freelancing, where you're your own boss and making a lot more than you could make as an employee. Sounds pretty cool, doesn't it? If you like this topic, we have an upcoming online course that will teach you in detail everything that you need to know about how to get on your feet and build a business using your skills from scratch. The link is in the description. And don't forget to like the video and subscribe, because it'll help support the channel. And if there's anything that you'd like for me to talk about, drop them in the comments. And don't forget to hit the bell icon to be part of the notification squad, to be notified every time we upload, because I respond to questions in the first hour. I'll see you in the next video, and I'll catch you later.